It's time for the Pac-Man World 2 review for the Gamecube. I haven't played the original Pac-Man World at the time of this video, and I'm fully aware of the repack game that comes out about a month after this video, but I thought it'd be fun to review the original, so let's get into it. The story is about how the ghosts have stolen the golden fruit from Pac-Land, but in doing so, they unknowingly release a monster from underneath the tree they plucked the fruit from. So, in order to seal the monster again, Pac-Man must retrieve the golden fruit from each of the ghosts throughout Pac-Land. This is a third-person platformer, and it's a fair and standard one at that. There's not much in terms of a wow factor or pizzazz, but it still holds its own and is fine for what it is. Most levels consist of various jumping puzzles and sections to get across, as well as fighting off basic enemies. You can kick-flip airborne enemies, as well as break open crates floating above you, but your primary attack is your butt bounce. Every enemy, except for bosses, only takes one hit, so there's not much challenge in defeating them, but angling yourself towards them can be a bit tricky some of the time. I guess Pac-Man has been taking lessons from Sonic, as he too has a spin dash attack. This is great for taking out certain enemies and pinballing your way to new areas, although I was quite disappointed that you can't jump after you perform this move. It feels second nature to be able to jump after building up a lot of speed and momentum, and I think the game would have been more fun had you been able to do this. Often, I instinctively tried to jump after doing a spin dash, but pressing the jump button actually makes you stop dead in your tracks. I feel like this is just wasted potential and overall fun. Every level has many different fruits scattered throughout, and picking them up will give you points. Some are required to open certain chests which can unlock pathways or a Galaxian sprite, which will bring you to a bonus 3D classic style Pac-Man maze. These were pretty fun and a nice little break from the main game. You can also find and pick up tokens throughout the levels, good for turning in to play Pac-Man arcade classics. Many levels have different switches that activate certain elements or pathways. I liked when it activated a string of pellets, with the beginning being a red pellet that would automatically make Pac-Man fly through the air, gobbling up each pellet as he went on. Pellets, just like the fruit and Galaxian, are counted at the end of each level to see how much you collected overall. I think one of the strongest selling points for the game is its variety of levels. Yes, most are controlling Pac-Man in a regular environment, but others have him skating, or swimming, or blasting his way through levels. There was an overall nice balance of level variety. Now, with that said, I will say the difficulty spikes in the later half of the game. Not in every level, but there were a handful of moments where I don't know how anyone is supposed to not get hurt in some of these sequences. I feel like there's a layer of game design akin to the Atari 2600 and NES days, where the replayability came from having to remember the level designs by playing it over and over due to dying frequently. The graphics look fine for cartoony GameCube standards. Nothing outstanding, but not bad either. Controlling Pac-Man felt very precise, especially when it came to his jumps. The camera was the biggest flaw, however. For one, the horizontal and vertical movements are reversed for what I like, and there isn't an option to change it. And two, I noticed I began to feel a bit nauseated after about a half hour of playing, and I realized it's because every time you turn Pac-Man in any direction, the camera would turn with him. This sounds like a good idea on paper, but every tiny little nudge or wide turn would also move the camera in the same direction, and this caused a degree of motion sickness. It would have been better to have the player have to control the camera more than what was required to alleviate this odd anomaly. However, there were too many instances where the camera wouldn't cooperate, and that was usually if there was too small a gap between Pac-Man and a wall. Sometimes I just had to wing it and hope that I landed on a platform that I couldn't see well, or at all, because the camera refused to move. Another issue was the level of depth perception. It was okay for the most part, but there were multiple times where I would die because it was too shallow, which of course is frustrating. Sometimes though, it wouldn't auto-move like it's supposed to, and I ended up dying stupid deaths because of it. The music is alright. It's got a cartoony bounciness to it, but unfortunately there's a lack of variety and it gets old fairly quickly. The boss fights were a mixed bag. The first two bosses are incredibly easy, especially since the enemies straight up tell you how to beat them. The latter half of bosses were actually quite challenging, and even to the point where I felt it was borderline impossible to not get hit during some attack sequences. Pac-Man World 2 is a fine game with a great diversity of level types and sharp platforming controls. Although the game is fairly short, some levels were quite difficult later on due to some questionable design choices. The lack of a spin dash jump is super odd in my opinion, and the camera seemed to be a hindrance more than it was helpful many times. It's still a fun game with classic old school charm. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of good.